Broadway Interludes presented by Art Lab. I'm your host, Megan Chocolates, and today I am here in the Museum of Broadway with the oh-so-talented J. Armstrong Johnson. Woo!
What's up?
And we're here in the Phantom Room, if you haven't guessed it. These are mannequins. How exciting. Now, Jay, you were in Phantom, right?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
It was before the pandemic, so I did it for about a year and a half, and I think I left the show in like early fall of 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because you played a Raoul, and since we're in the Phantom Room, I have to ask, have you been to the museum before?
This is my first time in the museum, actually.
This is so exciting.
I've only seen like this exhibit and the Rent exhibit.
Oh, okay.
So now I've got a lot to catch up on here at the Museum of Broadway.
Yeah, and you all should too. Come on down. They're open 7 days a week.
45th Street.
45th
Just
Street.
east of Broadway.
Now, we kick off every interview by starting with the question, how did your theatrical journey begin? So when did you first start performing?
I kind of started in, like my initial love began probably in the 5th grade in Mr. Ingram's English class.
Come on, Mr. Ingram.
Right, he was the best. And he did a much abridged version of Romeo and Juliet. And my sister's a year older than me, and she played Juliet her year, and so I was like dead set on getting Romeo in my 5th grade year. So I wrote Mr. Ingram a note, and I was like, please consider me for the role of Romeo. And not many boys in Texas were like aching to put on white tights and recite Shakespeare in front of the school body, but this little guy was. So I got Romeo, and that's kind of when I was like, I want to be an actor. And then my first musical was when I was 12 years old with Kids Who Care Performing Arts in Fort Worth, Texas. And we did A Midsummer Night's Dream, the rock musical. So like Shakespeare was like my early like love and knowledge of theater.
Yeah, okay, and then tell me about Peter Pan.
She's done her research. Peter Pan was the year after Midsummer.
Okay.
I was 13 years old.
Okay.
And I got cast as Peter in my community theater. My voice was changing at the time.
Like they do. Sure.
And so the keys to the songs kept getting like lower and lower over the course of the rehearsal process.
I'm Peter Pan.
But you know, I got to fly. Like Flying by Foy came in, and I wore that really uncomfortable leather harness, and but it was a dream. And then I got to do Peter Pan again with Kathy Rigby. She came through my hometown the next year when I was 13. It was the same year. And Tom Hewitt was my Captain Hook, and he's notoriously in Hadestown right now on Broadway. And yeah, so that was my first professional job, was playing John Darling in Kathy Rigby's Peter Pan. And
At 13.
13, yeah.
Wow, an overachiever. That's so exciting though. Like, do you remember what it felt like when you got the part?
Yeah, I cried. I for sure cried. I think it was in my cousin's house, actually, because I would like babysit my cousins after school. I fell so deeply in love with theater when I first started that like I kind of knew that's what I wanted to do. And so when like the universe kept saying yes to the things that I wanted, it felt good, it felt right, it felt pathetic. But I was also like, you know, a queer boy in Texas, so not many boys wanted to do it. So, you know, I came from a place of privilege, and I liked to dance and sing, and most boys in Texas in the 90s and early aughts did not, you know?
Yeah, I get it. I'm from West Virginia, so relatable.
Shout out to WV.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Now, after Peter Pan, did you keep working professionally, or was there a gap or anything?
Yeah, I think I did like one professional show a year until I like graduated high school. And so like I did like a Godspell where they like, flew in a bunch of actors from New York, and I remember that's when I met Josh Lehman for the first time, and my friend Annie Funke, who's done really well. And I did like a West Side Story with Josh Prince, who played my Arab, and then he went on to like choreograph Beautiful on Broadway. And so like at a young age, I was working with New York professionals and building a resume that I didn't even realize I was building as a kid, because I was just having fun. I was like playing, I was playing,
yeah,
you know?
doing plays.
Yeah.
Now, did you go to college for performance?
I did.
And where was that?
Well, I went to high school for performing arts. So I went to the Fort Worth Academy of Fine Arts. Shout out to FWAFA. and I was a dance major there. So I was dancing like 5 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week. So that was really where most of my like hardcore training happened. But my dance teacher, Diane West, has a daughter named Meryl, and Meryl grew up dancing, of course, her whole life because her mom was a dance teacher. And then she decided to go to school for voice. So she went to the Steinhardt School of Music as a vocal performance major. So I had someone doing something that I wanted to mirror. So I followed in Meryl's footsteps and went to Steinhardt. I only applied to NYU. I was like, if I don't get in to NYU, I'm just going to move to New York anyway. Like, I was like dead set, not realizing it was going to cost me so much money. But yeah, so I studied voice in college.
Oh, okay. Now, after college, I guess, I'm trying to kind of paint the picture of your journey to where you are now.
It's like a George Seurat. It's like pointillism.
So next, after college, what was your first big, like, audition post-college?
I started auditioning during college. I was the kid that was like skipping my gen eds to go to Broadway open calls and like national tour calls.
Who needs math?
Right? So I actually was in callbacks for a chorus line replacements when it was on Broadway. So I ended up dropping out of school my junior year to go on tour with a chorus line.
As one would, so that's totally fine.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, okay, so a chorus line national tour was your first like big like adult professional moment.
For sure.
And then your Broadway debut was Hair?
Yeah.
How was that?
So dreamy.
Yeah.
And wild.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine.
Yeah. You know, everything happens for a reason. In college, I would often get stopped on the street because people thought I looked like Jonathan Groff, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, I loved you in Spring Awakening," and I'd be like, "Thank you." So when I was auditioning for Hair, I know that Jonathan did it in the park, and so when I walked into that audition, I was like, "Well, I look like the dude that's playing the lead." And so I walked in and I could sing, and you know, I had a national tour on my resume, and so the audition went well, and that was before they had cast Gavin Creel, so who is like a foot taller than me and like doesn't really look like me. So So I think like, you know, everything happens for a reason, and thank you, Jonathan. I'm glad that we can maybe play brothers one day. Yeah, let's put that out there.
Yeah.
But Hair was a mind-altering, world-changing thing for me. It's like kind of when I stopped being religious and more spiritual. It was, we were kind of living the life of protester hippies off stage as well as on, because it was before marriage equality, and so our producers let us skip 2 shows to march on Washington that Saturday, and you know, we were in the streets and we were going to rallies and we were making posters, and so it really felt like such a movement.
Right.
And we did it as a company, and we are all still on the same text thread, and it pops off every single day. Like, those are some of my closest buds now.
Yeah. If you could go back in time and give like opening night of Hair Jay a piece of advice, what would you say to him?
Use your words wisely.
Okay. Use your words wisely. I like that. Yeah. Simple, to the point, but there's weight in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're getting deep in this episode. Jay, dang. Got me all off track.
Oh, good.
So, okay. So you've done a lot of different Broadway shows. You've done Hair. You've done
an opera-ish.
Opera-ish. I was gonna say Hands on a Hard Body.
I mean, she is pretty hard. You probably knock on her.
You've done Phantom. All of these shows are very different styles. On the Town. Like, do you happen to have a favorite type of music that you like to sing most?
I don't know if I do.
Okay.
I haven't really, like, it's going well. I haven't really done like a pop show, right? Like,
yeah, okay.
So I would love to try my hat at that. Like, if I was younger, I probably could have like maybe played Romeo and like and Juliet, like, and I would have died and been like, oh my God, I get to sing the songs that I grew up listening to on the radio, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I haven't done yet on Broadway that I'd like to explore, but eclectic has always been my like buzzword. It's like I wanted to live my life eclectically. My dad's a rock musician. I studied choir, like religious music my whole life. I love pop. I love opera. I love jazz. You know?
Yeah.
So I never like to like subscribe to any certain form because I just want to keep it all as an actor too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like I want to paint with many colors.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's amazing. I love that. Now, follow-up question.
Oh.
If you could jump into any currently running Broadway show other than Parade, we'll get to that in a second.
Oh, weird.
What show would you jump into and what role?
Probably King George and Hamilton.
Really?
Yeah.
I could see that though. That'd be awesome.
Like one, what a princess track,
Come
right?
out.
It's like come out, nail the song, go smoke a cigarette. Don't smoke a cigarette. Don't smoke a cigarette. But two, I love Lynn. Lynn's always been so very nice to me, and will go out of his way at events to like say hello and say every single one of my names. You know, so just to work with Lynn again would be really kind of lovely.
Yeah.
Or at least be adjacent to working with
Wait,
Lynn.
remind me, when did you work with him the first time?
He worked on Working off Broadway at Prospect Theater Company.
Oh, okay, didn't know that. Surprise.
And our entire cast won a Drama Desk Award that year for Best Ensemble.
What?
And he also, I did the very first reading of Bring It On, the musical.
Come on,
as
bring
well.
it on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you do a backflip?
I sure didn't.
Okay.
No.
Cool.
You know, thank God we were just at stands. It was just,
Right,
you know, it's like,
right.
you know, first reading
Right,
situation.
right. I knew that.
But Annalee Ashford played the lead, actually.
Oh,
That's when I first
really?
met Annalee. Yeah.
Oh my god, come on, Annalie.
She's good stuff.
Yeah. I do love her. Also, before we talk about Parade, we're getting there, people.
Okay.
We have to talk about a little show. We were just talking about it off camera. It was at Roundabout in like 2019, off Broadway, Scotland, PA. And I love this show. And no one ever knows this show. So I have to just ask, do you happen to have like a favorite memory or like funny moment that happened during that? With that cast, I feel like you had a really fun time.
We had a really fun time. I would say Megan Lawrence, who I met during Hair, because you know I made my Broadway debut with Miss Lawrence. She would often bring her her kids backstage, especially Sunny, and I would when I had the prosthetic and the whole, you know, I'm gonna give it away. I got shot in the head in the show, and
It
so
happens, yeah.
like backstage with her, she was like quite young, like interested but terrified, right?
Right.
Because she knew it was makeup.
So you're
So, you know, playing Sunny was fun backstage. And I did a lot of puzzles, actually.
okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of puzzle making underground at Roundabout.
Noted.
I kind of love puzzles.
Me too.
I did a lot of them during the pandemic.
Yeah, I love puzzles. Every time it rains, I'm like, oh, I can't do anything, so I have to do a puzzle.
Oh, for
Then
sure.
knock everything off the coffee table.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's do a puzzle together sometime.
Can't wait.
Okay, great. Anyway, back to the show. So you're in a show called Parade on Broadway right now. It has a bunch of nominations, right? No, to be serious though, so Parade is actually, I personally think, one of the most relevant, most needed stories being told right now on Broadway. And you did the City Center production as well, which is, as I've heard, it's like getting shot out of a cannon. So like, what was that like, rehearsing it there, putting it on, and then transferring and getting more time to play with it?
I've done this my third City Center show, and it's a wild contract. It's like doing summer stock, but Broadway scale and in front of the entire industry, right? So it's like stakes are high, salaries are low, we're here for love, right? Michael Arden is, first of all, a friend, but second of all, such a smart collaborator. And he prepared us as a company with like a beautiful email about how important the story is, and like we know that this contract, you could be on book if you'd like, and I encourage you to not, as I think that as clearly and fully as we can tell this story, I think it's important right now.
Yeah.
So he rallied us around a really hard contract, really hard ask. And the way that City Center kind of protected the company because of the subject matter is just a little difficult to swallow. Mm-hmm. We had a sensitivity coach that was there to help us through hard conversations, and a wellness person that was there to help us through anything we needed with our bodies or our minds. And so the way that we felt support in that artistic environment, and the way that Michael creates a warm, safe, open space was really like the way theater can and should be produced.
Yeah.
Because it could have been a hard show to do on stage and off. At off stage, it was fully love, even in the hard times.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Because it's a heavy. When we saw it at City Center, 2 months went by where I thought about that show every single day. And I thought about that. I was like, I wonder how the actors are.
Yeah. And
so I'm so glad to hear.
And it's super tough, right? But they have given us this support system that when it does get tough, we can actually go and have the conversation, or go and, speak our minds, or, share our feelings.
Right.
Yeah, it's like built-in therapy where therapy is needed most. Yeah. And of course, Ben and Michaela are dreams, right? So even your two leads are leading the show brilliantly as artists, and offstage they're leading him brilliantly as humans, right? They're just the nicest, kindest, most talented people. So it's really just been like a pinch me situation ever since we did it at City Center.
Again, what a phenomenal cast. I'm guessing some like backstage hijinks ensue. Do you happen to have like
absolutely
a fun story to share with the world?
Oh goodness, for sure. I'm sure there's millions. I mean, we make sure to have as much fun and be goofballs backstage, because we were kind of taught that by Ann James, our like sensitivity specialist.
Yeah.
And like we enroll into our characters, and we have to de-roll out of those characters to not carry that weight with us in the world. So our girls in the show are killing it with the TikToks these days. I don't know if you've seen it.
Seen them.
I mean, Paul Alexander Nolan is a star in a lot of them. They're asking me to do one this week. I'm nervous and excited. So like the kind of those are wild hijinks. There's the snack table is wild. Always candy. We go through 2 pounds of candy per week, I think.
I love that.
So we stay sugared up.
What's your favorite candy to have?
Mine's
Sour Patch Kids.
Sure, it has to have peanut.
Okay.
It's like a Snickers,
something
a Reese's.
chocolatey.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Okay. Little protein. Little protein. But it cancels out the sugar. Now.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Health tips here at Broadway Interludes. Now, what's a show or a role that you've done that you would love to revisit?
Floyd Collins.
Floyd Collins.
I did Floyd Collins at NYU, Steinhardt. Nick Rouleau was my Homer.
Okay.
And it was the first time as an actor that I was asked to play a role where they had to take away my physicality. So like I'm a dancer, like I use my body to communicate always, and Floyd is stuck in a cave for 75 to 80% of the show. So it really, I grew as an artist because I only got to use my voice and my eyes to really tell the story. And I so desperately want to take my body away from myself again. You know?
Yeah.
Also, Floyd Collins hasn't been seen on Broadway. It was only off Broadway at Playwrights Horizons. Come on, I know that Adam Guttell and Tina Landau are out there right now. You know it's brilliant. I think Floyd should have its due, and I would be over the moon if I could revisit Floyd.
Interesting. So, guess what, Jay?
What up?
We have a piano here, and I bet that you probably have some Floyd Collins sheet music.
What a surprise!
What a surprise! Interesting. Would you like to sing for us?
I really would.
Okay, what song?
You know, Audra McDonald sings it best, but I'll do How Glory Goes.
So, this is J. Armstrong Johnson singing How Glory Goes from Floyd Collins.
Is it warm? Is it soft against your face? Do you feel a kind of grace inside the breeze? Will there be trees? Is there light? Does it hover on the ground? Does it shine from all around? Or just from you? Is it endless and empty and you wander on your own? Slowly forget about the folks that you have known. Or does rising bread fill up the air from open kitchens everywhere? Familiar faces far as you can see, like a family, do we live? Is it like a little town? Do we get to look back down at who we love? Are we above? Are we everywhere? Are we anywhere at all? Do we hear a trumpet call us and we're by your side? Will I want, will I wish for all the things I should have done? Longing to finish what I only just begun. Or has a shining truth been waiting there for all the questions everywhere? In a world of wondering, suddenly you know, and you will always know. Will my mama be there waiting for me, smiling like the way she does, and holding out her arms, and she calls my name? She will hold me just the same. Only heaven knows how glory goes, what each of us was meant to be. In the starlight, that is what we are. I can see so
Thank you so much, Jay. That was so good.
Thanks, Megan.
I'm obsessed. Someone make that happen. Floyd. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. This was a true pleasure.
Oh, thank you. This has been Broadway Interludes presented by Art Lab. And thank you for watching. See you next time.